Today's guest shares her family's incredible health journey from discovering hidden toxins and stressors all around them and getting to that root cause really transformed their whole family. In the first half, we go deep into the root cause of healing, nutrition, and so many other things that are causing people to be sick right now. And then we switch gears. We talk about Rebecca's amazing gift for being a homeschool teacher, where she has a great curriculum talking about health and wellness. Her passion is truly equipping the next generation to get healthy right now. So stay tuned and God bless. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here today. I'm just so thrilled that you said yes to being on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and have this conversation with you.
And you have such a fascinating background with a homeschool mom and a health practitioner, which I love that combination. And I want to dive a little deeper into how that came to be.
It's a really good story. It's a really long story, so I'll try and keep it short. Originally out of high school, went into ministry full-time, missions. When I was serving in China, I actually contracted a virus that got me pretty sick. So after a few years of not getting really good answers, it kind of forced me to think outside the box as far as what doctors could provide, because I had absolutely no answers for my health. And which was really challenging because my dad worked for Lilly. He's a research scientist. I grew up very strong conventional medical household, but I was not getting any answers. So that really started kind of my homeschool journey. I started juicing. My parents thought I was nuts, just little things like that. Kind of researching different ways to support my body. Through the years, married, pregnant, babies, lots of complications, lots of issues, lots of health stuff happening with my family. We ended up unknowingly building our house on an illegal toxic waste dump that got us all really sick. And there's a whole, I could write a whole book on that one. But yeah, we ended up foreclosing and moving. And in the process, just again, at the time, people were not familiar with environmental toxins, with environmental loads and the effect on the body. I really had to reach out to Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, like all these different universities to try and find answers to help support my family's health. It was just a consecutive year after year after year of not really getting answers through the conventional sense and really having to just dig deep and research. So a lot of work on night hours spent looking up articles, reading, researching, talking to doctors and professors all over, and becoming that desperate mom that it's like, okay, what can I do? I'm like, I'll do anything, right? There's about 3 years when we decided to go vegan as a family to try and heal, because that was the trend. That's what a lot of people in the medical communities were pushing. A lot of, what I didn't realize that were influencers at the time pushing. We were watching all the documentaries. We were raw vegan. And yes, we did see as a family some health benefits from that in the first 6 months, which were really phenomenal and amazing. But then after then, there was a steady decline of health again. But we'd kind of really drunk the Kool-Aid to, the vegan way, and the being morally and ethically the right choice for, eating. But 3 years into that, my daughter, whom was 16 at the time, she basically, she began to spiral exponentially. And she has given me permission to share her story because it's just an incredible God story. Basically, she mentally started to spiral to the point of wanting to take her life, multiple things. And we were all just so sick, and we were visiting doctors and therapists, and nobody really knew what was wrong with her. And I'm like, something is just not right. In my gut, I was like, there's got to be an answer here. And we found a practitioner that was willing to do some hormone testing, some neurotransmitter testing, some other tests outside the box. We discovered she had 0 hormones, no hormones, no estrogen, progesterone, no GABA, and then neurotransmitters like her GABA, her dopamine, everything was tanked
Wow.
to the ground, barely registering on any test. And the doctors were like, oh my goodness. And so I was like, okay, so her mental state is definitely a physiological response to something. And so it was just one morning asking, crying out to the Lord as a mom, how do I help my kid? How do we how do we do this? Because even the practitioner that we were going to at the time, who was amazing and thinking outside the box, had no answers still on how to like fix it. They just wanted to put her on more drugs. And my husband and I were just like, we just had a huge check in our gut. Like, no, we're not putting her on antidepressants. We're not putting her on antipsychotics. This just that we just feel like that's a Band-Aid that could possibly cause more problems down the road. And we didn't know at the time that that was like definitely the right choice to make. But I just kept hearing in my spirit, carnivore, carnivore, carnivore over and over again.
Wow.
And I was like, what does that mean? Like, I had no idea. I didn't even know that that was like a diet or anything at the time or a trend or whatever. My friend, who's a nutritionist, called me and she said, hey, have you ever heard of the carnivore diet? I
Oh.
really feel like the Lord wants you to maybe consider this.
Oh.
And she was like, I'm saying this with courage because I know that you don't like talking about eating anything other than, plants. You're pretty strong in your veganism. I'm like, I'm desperate right now. I will do anything.
Yeah.
So I went down the rabbit hole into the carnivore diet and I approached my husband. I said, hey, can we just give this a shot? And he was so excited to eat bacon again that he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we did a complete 180, went from vegan to carnivore, and it was like going off drugs. It was like going through withdrawals, and it was not easy. And but we did it together as a whole family. Right around week 2, right after week 2, it was like a switch flipped and the color came back into my daughter's eyes and her laughter came back. My pain that I'd been dealing with for 25 years was gone, absolutely gone. And I was sleeping and I was like, what just happened? And then we saw some immediate other health benefits. And I was like, what? Wait a minute. I was like, food really, really is important. Like food really does like make a difference in so many aspects of your life. That's mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. I was like, okay, I need to understand this because I've just been going on what anybody tells me for so long. And I was like, but I've been hearing wrong, and leading my family down the wrong track. So I was like, I have to go back to school. I have to figure this out. I went back to school and I was like, I need to understand the energetics. I need to understand the biology, the chemistry, the physics, the systems, how everything works and functions. And that's kind of in a nutshell, the journey,
Okay.
how I got to where I am today. Yeah.
That's incredible. And how is your daughter doing today?
She's doing amazing. She's doing absolutely amazing. That first year, we were not like strict carnivore. We're probably mostly meat-based, but we're probably more of a whole foods-based. Carnivore was really an amazing therapeutic tool to kind of right a lot of the imbalances in our bodies. But for her, it was really interesting. She went to university and she basically just ate all carbs. And she started mentally spiraling again. And we had to have a sit down and be like, babe, you're responsible. You need to recognize that what you eat, is very intricately connected to the state of your mental health. So she was like, you're right. Oh my goodness. It was a big wake up call for her. And so she is very careful about what she eats, but not to the point where it's like an obsession. It's like, it's just, she knows, okay, if I eat this donut, I'm going to crash in 2 hours. But, there are different things we can do to like eliminate that crash. So we've learned a lot through the years.
And if I may, were you able to get her hormones tested again?
Yes, it has been a journey, but we've discovered that she also has mold mycotoxins. She also has her thyroid tanked as a result of that vegan diet. So we've been in the process of restoring her thyroid function. She's also got a couple of other bacterial and parasitic infections that we've been trying to clear. And so it's kind of like, it's weird when your body really is like an onion and, you have multiple things happening and your body prioritizes different things. So it's like figuring out, okay, what is my body working on right now and supporting that? And then you can clear that. And then it's like, okay, what are you working on now next? And then supporting that. And then we clear that and you just kind of work your way through the layers. So we all have a good, decade plus of issues, metals, all kinds of things. So we're just working through it. But yeah, she's doing phenomenal right now. Yeah. Compared to where she was for sure. That's for sure. Yeah.
It's amazing. When your body is like masking symptoms, and I'm just thinking like with the mold toxicity and like you're talking about peeling back the onions, what does that mean to you? And how have you, in your role as a health practitioner, helped other people really start to peel back that onion and find like really core key issues that they're dealing with?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is you're kind of a mental state and recognizing that there's not just one thing that's going to fix all of you potentially. I mean, there sometimes the Lord does come in and just put his finger on you and just writes everything. And it's wonderful and beautiful when that happens. And I love it when he does, and he has done it. But the reality is we are complex creatures, and we unfortunately live in a very toxic world. So the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the clothes that we wear, our systems are constantly being bombarded. And then on top of that, we have with EMFs that has magnified the rate of mold activity and mycotoxins
I
as
didn't
well
know
as,
that.
yeah, one of the reasons why mold has become such an issue in the last 5 to 10 years is because of EMF activity. It actually increases the rate of growth of mold. So people who didn't necessarily have an issue with it before do now. So you're getting hit. I mean, we're all getting hit in so many different ways. So our bodies are just really overwhelmed, and how our bodies process that and survive that really are a little bit differently depending upon the health and condition of our cells, what we inherited, our microbiome health, you know, different things that we've experienced in life. One thing that can make a really big difference is whether you were even vaginally birthed or cesarean birthed. I mean, that makes a big, difference in how your body's going to handle different things, or if you're breastfed or bottle fed, or, there's just from the very beginning, and what you inherited, genetically is there. We just have a lot to work through. And so it's taking all of those things. I take a full health history. I evaluate a whole person's kind of environment, everything that they're encountering, their habits. I ask them to journal for me, like what they're eating, what their habits are, their bowel movements, their sleep, their movement, their exercise, their stress levels, how they handle stress, cope with stress, and just taking all that into consideration. I look at blood labs to see where they're at. Another thing that I do with my clients is I run a bioresonance scan. So that's looking at the frequency of the cell to look at like the different stress of different systems. That'll give us a lot of information.
I might
And
have to stop you right before you go on because I don't know about that test.
yeah, I'm not probably like the best person to like really explain it well. Basically, your cells, each one of your cells is made of molecules, and those molecules are made of, different elements that contain different atoms that contain different frequencies, protons, electrons, neutrons, that kind of thing. When it comes down to it, we are fully electrical beings. So it's kind of the same way as the same technology that you would explain kind of an ultrasound or an EKG or an EEG, something that's picking up the electrical signal of the cell. So the test that I use is called a bioresonance scan. And it basically uses a hair and saliva sample, and it uses those samples to basically check the frequencies that are happening throughout the body. And it can see the level of frequency that's happening in different organs, different systems, and it can run through numerous things from nutrients and hormones to bacterial viral metal infections. It basically can let us know if there's a stressor happening. So as when it comes to the onion layers, the nice thing about that particular scan is it picks up the frequency of what's happening on the outside layer. So it tells us what exactly the body is, where the stress is happening in that moment, how we can support it. Yeah, that way.
That's incredible. Okay,
So
sorry.
yeah.
I
No, it's
interrupted you,
great.
but that was
No, that's fine.
I didn't know about that. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just a really nice different. I love stacking that with different testing, different evaluating symptoms, that kind of thing, just to kind of get a whole picture of a person and see really what's going on.
Love that. Thank you. So I have to say, for me personally, I have been working with a physician for, I don't even know, a lot of months. And it's been fascinating to look at the blood work and stuff that my regular physician that I've had for decades never even looked at, and how my health improved so much quicker when the right tests were done. And therefore, then I can support my body better because I have a whole lot more details than I had before. So,
Yeah.
bravo.
Love it.
So, what are some foundational habits that you have found makes the biggest difference in healing? And I know that's a really broad and general question, but would you have some insight into that?
My school would say that there's 5, and I think there's 6 general foundations, but the foundations of health, as the NTA teaches, are blood sugar regulation, nutrient dense diet, sleep, stress regulation, and oh my goodness, movement's one, and I'm gonna totally blank on what they're. But my personal a foundation, honestly, the first thing that I ever look at when I look at a client is their sleep. Sleep, you can survive 40 days without food. You can survive so many days without, water, but you cannot survive very long without sleep. Sleep is so vital and important for everything in your body to work right. And you cannot out eat and you cannot out supplement bad sleep. So I think good quality and quantity sleep is really one of the most basic free foundations that anybody can apply to their life to regulate their bodies and get healthy. Yeah.
That's been a hard one for me, I will say, over the years, even since like middle school, where they're like, I feel like there wasn't very many toxins and things back then, right? Way different now. Do you have tips and tricks that you share with people on how to get better sleep in our environment today?
I mean, there are loads of tips and tricks out there. Some of them are, not eating 3 hours before bed, making sure you're off a screen, honoring circadian rhythm and like light, making sure that you're not engaging a lot of blue light a few hours before bed. Red light is really helpful, making sure your bedroom is pitch black where there's no lights on at all, making sure if the husband is snoring next to you, sometimes maybe sleep in another room so you can get an actual good quality night's sleep.
Yeah.
Or get his snoring sorted. Or put the dog in the other room. Just the sounds can really disrupt, especially women. If you've had a baby and given birth, our brains are chemically redesigned to be lighter sleepers. It makes it a lot more challenging for us to get more sleep. The nice thing, though, is if you are waking up around the same hour every night, it does indicate a little bit of what's going on in your body. So like the 12 to 2 hours, kind of a kidney situation. 2 to 4 is a liver situation. That's kind of like the liver hour. Like there's different times throughout the night where the body's processing and healing different parts of the body. Those really are amazing clues to give us insight into what's going on, and we can support your body so that you actually can sleep better.
That's good. And now I would love to talk about blood sugar regulation. So what's been interesting to me, that what I was taught in college and undergrad 30 years ago was not good. It was really terrible information on how to regulate your blood sugar, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, the Ansel Keys study kind of set us back 100 years. Oh,
Yes, so true. Absolutely. Now, the more that I'm learning about it and understanding how key fasting is and not snacking and all of those things, I would love if you could share with those listening, what you have found that is really helpful and important for blood sugar regulation and why it's important.
sure. So over 93% of Americans are metabolically ill. And basically, that can come down to blood sugar not being regulated. I can tell you that with all my clients, it's very rare to have someone with good sugar numbers. So it's very, very rare. I think I've had one in the last year come to me originally with that and then not have to work on it. Basically, what happens is if your blood sugar is not regulated, yes, we all know that it leads to type 2 diabetes. Basically, what happens, I call them sticky cells. So if you spill juice or soda on the counter and you leave it, the counter gets sticky. Well, the same thing happens inside of our body. If we have too much sugar floating around and not being processed and utilized correctly, then our cells get really sticky and then they become dysfunctional. And that, leads to, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It leads to, eye impairment, ear impairment, joint pain, just about any chronic disease or issue can really come down to too much sugar just floating around the system and making things sticky. And so things don't function as well. When it comes to regulating blood sugar, am I someone who is you can never eat sugar? Absolutely not, because I love my ice cream and I love my birthday cakes and my Reese's. I mean, let's just be realistic. I mean, come on. Some simple hacks for people who don't want to change their diet. I just say, just eat foods in an appropriate order on your plate if you can. So you start with your fibers, foods like your veggies, your salad, and then you eat your proteins and fats, and then you finish with your carbs. So your pasta or your rice or your bread. So eating foods in an order, the way it enters your stomach and your digestive tract will actually slow the release of the sugar so that your body can process it a lot easier. And and it inhibits like a really big spike and just a stress response on the body. A couple of other things after you eat a meal, go for a 10-minute walk or, do 10 squats. Or if you can't walk or you can't squat, then I have people say, well, just have like a weight and sit and just do some arm exercises because our muscles have this really cool protein. It's called the GLUT4 protein, and it acts as like a sponge. And as sugar floats through the bloodstream, if that protein is activated in your muscle, and which is activated when you move it, then it basically pulls and soaks up the sugar out of your bloodstream and stores it into your muscles. So that kind of and helps regulate your blood sugar a lot quicker and easier. So there's a couple little tricks that you can do. Another one is just chew your food and slow down. Just slow down when you
That's good.
eat. So you don't even need to change your diet, just change maybe how you eat and what you do after you eat. If you need an excuse to do the dishes after eating dinner, like get up and just do the dishes, just move your body. Clean the kitchen, but you're like, okay, this is for my body's health, my mental health too, but there are lots of things you can do to regulate your sugars that way.
Thank you for all the wonderful tips. So let's talk about your amazing homeschooling journey and your passion for teaching teenagers about health and nutrition. I love your website and just taking a peek at all the fun things that you've been doing in that homeschool realms. So the floor is yours.
You're so sweet. Yeah. My kids were in high school. So we started homeschooling when they were first and second grade, like babies. So we've done public school but homeschooling it's been quite the journey, but I would do it a million times over and over and over again. Having that time with my kids has just been absolutely precious. When I started my practice, my daughter was in university and she was like, Mom, you need to help this friend. Mom, you need to help this friend. This friend doesn't know what they're doing. They don't understand they need to actually sleep, or they don't know how to eat. And it just really opened up my eyes to the fact that, wait, our kids really don't know how to take care of themselves. Like they don't understand the foundations of health. They don't even know how to understand how to make healthy choices with their food, or the fact that this impacts not just their physical body, but their mental health and their emotional health and even their grades. Like if they just ate well, if you eat well, studies show you can increase your grades. Like it's just, you want to get A's, eat better, like, come on. And then I started kind of researching all the different health curriculums out there that were available for homeschoolers. And I realized that they were all really outdated. And even the most recent ones just kind of barely scratched the surface and didn't really speak to the teenager and make it applicable. I then was like, well, I need to make a course then because there's nothing out there.
Wow.
And so I decided to make a course that really stays up to date on the most recent research. So it is an online course. I edit it constantly. I'm constantly updating it, even though it's only been live for 18 months now. It's just, yeah, it's it's like a baby that's just constantly growing and
That's awesome.
being edited. But also I wanted it to be not just engaging for like teenagers, but just to make it so that it was applicable for them and they could use information now and practice now. So every module that I teach, it's not just about pouring in knowledge and teaching them things and them listening to another lecture, doing another quiz, but it is an actual application homework. So for example, the sleep module, they have to track their sleep for a whole week and they have to observe and evaluate all of their habits. And after that week of tracking, they also are journaling like how they feel and their energy and their moods and, their emotion and all of their sleep hygiene. And after evaluating all of that, they then have to, share what they would do to improve it. And then after improving their sleep, then basically saying, okay, this is the benefit of it. So they're actually having to apply each week, actively. So like, it's really fun. I was just sharing with someone. One of the weeks is on understanding marketing and food labels, how to read food labels, how to shop. So I basically give them the assignment to go to the grocery store and go on a scavenger hunt. And they have to find a label that says this, and they have to, evaluate this, and they have to find this marketing scheme, and they have to do that, and so they have to go in there and they have to, assess the layout of a store. Like there's the psychology behind that too, and just really get into it. And so they love that one. They're like, oh my goodness, sugar's in everything.
So true.
I'm like, yeah. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. The end of the program, instead of doing like a final exam, I have them do a capstone project where they select their favorite module, and then they have to create a presentation. So a lot of homeschoolers don't have an opportunity to do speech or present or practice those types of skills. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity to kind of open that up, but also open up discussion and for them to just really share like what they learned, what they did to change their lives, how they applied it, what they're doing now, how they're, sharing it with others and that kind of thing. And it's like every capstone presentation, I cry lots and lots of tears because it just,
That's
their lives are changing, and it's just really, really cool to watch.
wow. That's inspiring. I love it so much. And even reminding me of even when I was in my first nutrition class in college, where my eyes were opened and looking at labels in a whole new way. And then we got to go to the farmer's market and looking at food that I had never tasted before. And so I love that practical application. It's going to be cemented in their brains forever. So
I certainly hope so.
changing the world. I love it. Before I forget, I want to make sure that you let everyone know how they can connect with you and find this amazing resource for homeschoolers, and also to find out a little bit more about your programs for being a health practitioner.
Yeah. So you can find me at libertywellnessandco.com is my website, on Instagram, Facebook at Liberty Wellness and Co. I cannot bring myself to do like the TikToks or the Reddits or anything else. Like, so I really struggle with all the social medias, but I do the Instagram and Facebook. Yeah. And then my website has everything on it that you need to, all the information. It even has the full syllabus for the course. So if you're curious about all the different modules and exactly what I'm teaching, it's a really good place to go.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Let's do it.
So what's one nutrition myth that you would love to retire forever?
Salt is bad.
I'm right there with you.
Salt is amazing. I love salt.
It is needed. Yes.
It is necessary.
What are 3 pantry staples you always keep on hand?
That's a beautiful question. I love my whole grains. I have a grain mill, so having whole grains, they last forever in the pantry. Beef sticks they're always in there as well for a quick snack. And it's a good. Oh, I had an answer to this. Let's see. Beef sticks, grains. I think of a third one. Those are my 2 favorites.
I love that. Okay, your favorite healing food?
I know this kind of might be controversial, but I love red meat.
Yeah.
Fresh red meat is potent and so nutrient dense. And if you can't do red meat, then eggs is the next one. Eggs, very healing. Yeah.
Love that. What is one small health habit that gives you the biggest return?
Honestly, sleep. Sleep is the smallest. Yeah.
That's good. And what's one thing that you wish you knew 20 years ago?
That it's not all in your head.
Oh, yeah.
That my feeling unwell and doctors not having a reason doesn't mean there's not a reason. And there's always a reason. It's just figuring out what that is. And you're not going crazy. You're not mental. You're dealing with a real stressor on the body. So just got to keep looking and you'll get your answer eventually.
Rebecca, thank you so much for being here today. It's been really incredible. And I would love if you could pray for those listening, and they're on this health journey and they are looking for answers, and would love for you to pray for them.
Father, I would love for you to just reach out to the person who's listening right now that needs your touch. I know I said earlier that every once in a while you are the final and the only key that does the miracle. And so for the person who's asking for the miracle today, Father, I ask that your grace would be extended to them and that miracle would come to fruition. that they would be able to hear you and see you and know you and encounter you in a greater and fuller way than they could have possibly ever dreamed or imagined. Lord, I ask that if the healing doesn't come through this encounter, that your wisdom and your discernment would speak to their bones and to their whole being, and that they would know exactly what it is that they need to understand in the next steps in their healing journey, whether that's reaching out and working with a practitioner or whether that's just focusing on getting good sleep, whatever it may be, Father, that they would have the courage to lean into your guidance and your wisdom and your direction every single step of the way, because you are Father and you know best. And I ask today, regardless of whomever is listening, that you would bestow a measurable blessing, that no one would be safe from a blessing from you. In your name, Jesus.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Rebecca, I love that. Uh, the Holy Spirit's working. Amen. Thank you so much for being here today. It has been such a joy and a pleasure to speak with you. So many blessings to you.
Such an honor. Thank you so much for asking me to be here. It's really, I don't take it lightly. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And for everyone else listening, thank you for being here, and may God bless you and your family greatly today.